everybody, my name is Rebecca, and welcome back to my channel, Dissociative Discord. I hope you all are doing okay today, and if not, I hope you start to feel better soon. So today's video is going to be about my own personal experience with DPDR and kind of just dissociation in general. But first of all, I wanted to thank everyone who's watched my first video. I think last time I checked, it was at about 104 views, which is like mind-blowing to me. I never could have anticipated that many people would watch that video. Maybe it doesn't seem like a lot to some people, but to me it's like amazing. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that, and yeah, you guys are awesome. But anyways, let's move on to the video. So to sort of preface this section, at least from what I understand initially, most dissociative disorders are very covert or unnoticeable by the person who has it. And this is because the whole purpose of dissociation is to cope with something that is traumatic. And so a person won't really start to notice or suspect that they might have a dissociative disorder until the symptoms become really severe, so they like can't ignore it anymore or come up with random justifications as to why certain things are happening to them, or they're able to finally remove themselves from an unsafe situation. So for my personal experience, there were a lot of little things that kind of just went unnoticed by me at first, but then over the years they became a lot more noticeable and a lot more severe. And so that's when I kind of started to suspect I might have a dissociative disorder by doing my own research. And I'll let you know what those few things are now. So one of the major things I noticed when I started to suspect I might have a dissociative disorder was the fact that I had horrible memory, like memory loss, just not being able to remember anything. And this is really with everything, like childhood memories, except for like really upsetting traumatic memories, or even just like day-to-day stuff, like did I do this thing? Did I not? Who did I talk to? What did they talk to me about? What did I say to them? I don't know. And just kind of stuff like that. And then also, a thing I started realizing recently that I experience is sort of amnesia for amnesia. I don't really know if that's like a scientific term, but basically forgetting that I'm forgetting about things. So it's like, it's kind of weird. Like, maybe I remind myself in my mind where I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do this thing, and then I forget about it, and then I forget about the fact that I forgot about it, and then like 2 weeks later I'm like, I had a thing I needed to do that should have been done 2 weeks ago. And it makes it very hard to function. I have to set reminders for myself all the time to do things, and yeah, it's hard. So another really big thing that I noticed was that I would not sometimes be able to recognize people that I know for sure that I knew, and places that I know for sure I've been to before. Like, maybe I'd like look at my grandmother, who I've known all my life, you know? And I would just look at her and be like, who are you again? Like, she seemed familiar, but at the same time not. You know what I mean? And then for places, like, say I go to school, where clearly go there all the time. It's where I go to learn things. I'm there like 5 days out of the week. And then all of a sudden, like, I just have a few moments where I'm like, who are these people? Where am I? This place kind of seems like I should know where I am and seems familiar, but at the same time, something feels off. And I don't know how to explain it. Maybe this doesn't make any sense to people, and maybe I just sound weird, but it's the thing that happens when you have dissociation. Another thing I noticed was that I never really felt present in my body or my mind. Like, they just seemed really disconnected. And by that I mean, like, you know, I say things and I'm just like, that didn't feel like me who said it. Or like, I do an action and I just be like, didn't really feel like I was the one controlling my body there. It kind of just feels like you're a bit robotic. And like your mouth and your body and everything else is kind of just on autopilot all the time, and like it's just doing its own thing while you're kind of just like stuck in your head almost. So just like, but then at the same time not really thinking about anything, just kind of zoning out, and then your body just does its own thing all the time. And it can be really upsetting too. A lot of this is just really, really upsetting, if I'm being honest. Additionally, I have such a hard time focusing. My brain most of the time feels like it's full of cotton or wool or something just really, really thick. A lot of people with dissociative disorders, as far as I'm aware, also experience this a lot, where it's like, it literally feels like your thoughts are being pushed through this really, really thick fog or liquid or something that just, it's almost impermeable sometimes. Like, you almost feel the thought struggling to come out, or like thoughts or like information coming in just feels like it's like really, really struggling to just kind of get in there and like have your brain process what's happening. And so of course that makes it really difficult for me to be able to do well in school and at work. Sometimes I'm okay, you know, if I'm feeling safe and if I'm feeling comfortable, but if it's just a day where I'm really heavily dissociating, I won't be able to go to class. I will struggle a lot at work and forget how to do basic things that I know how to do. And so, or like someone will try to talk to me and I'll just be like, or it's like that thing where it's like someone says something to me and I'm like, what? And then they say it like another time and I'm like, what? And it goes back and forth for like 6 more times until I'm like, you know what, it's fine. I don't need to know. It's whatever. And so, yeah, that can be really difficult to deal with. And sort of in that same vein, I lose my train of thought all the time. It's so frustrating. Like, I will have a train of thought, I will have a conversation, I will be saying things. It happens a lot when I'm recording, actually, I just realized that, where it's like, I start to say something, and then all of a sudden, I just stop. And then I just start to stare kind of into the void, so to speak, and then I start zoning out and dissociating, and just not being able to, like, pull back that thought of what I was thinking, like that sentence, as soon as it leaves my mouth, out of my mind. No longer there. Don't know who that was. And so that can be really, really hard to deal with when I'm trying to, like, have a presentation or do recording sessions or things like that. So it makes it very, very difficult. Another thing I experience is time distortion. We all might be kind of experiencing this right now because we're all inside all the time, so it's really hard to tell, like, what day is it? When did this happen? I don't know. All the days are blending together. But for me, I was experiencing this way before all this happened. Where, like, for example, maybe I would have a conversation with someone and be like, oh yeah, like, that maybe happened like a couple days ago, when in reality it happened like a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. Or just anything in general happening to me, like, oh yeah, I went to the doctor like yesterday, when nope, way before that. Or like on a smaller scale, I guess, it would be like, I know this happens to everyone, like you get really, really heavily invested in something and then you kind of just, a few hours pass by and then you're like, oh crap, it's like 2 a.m, when did that happen? Except for me, that happens pretty frequently, and also even on like a smaller scale, I can easily dissociate for like 5 minutes at a time and then just be like, where did those 5 minutes go? I have no idea. I don't remember dissociating and all that type of stuff, and it's just like really upsetting to be like losing time or like not having a very set timeline. What was helpful for me was school, actually, because, you know, they'd have assignments like, oh, due on this date, and that sort of forced me to like keep track of like these days leading up to this assignment, or at least like having that one day where I'm like, okay, I know for sure today is like the 15th of whatever month because this assignment is due today. And that was a bit helpful for me because I'm like, okay, this is something solidifying to me that time is a concept and time is real. It's sort of that type of thing. So another really big thing I noticed that was happening sort of in tandem with all these other things I was experiencing was the fact that my symptoms would get way, way worse whenever I was stressed out or anxious or overwhelmed or really just not in a good mood, because then my window of tolerance would be kind of smaller for stressful things to be happening. Because normally, since I deal with chronic dissociation, normally I'm always at about like here, but when I get stressed out or anxious or upset, it immediately shoots up to like here, like all the way like up there, because my brain and my body are so much more sensitive because I've experienced trauma before, and so my brain and my body are always on high alert, looking out for danger. Even things that are perceived as dangerous, not even necessarily things that are dangerous. And for me, feeling stressed out and feeling overwhelmed is dangerous. And so my brain is like, okay, I know how to deal with this. Dissociate. Which can definitely be unhelpful at times. And sometimes it's so hard for me to catch because, you know, there are coping skills that I have available to me, but sometimes I dissociate so heavily, so fast that I just can't step in and intervene with that natural response at this point. To be like, no, it's okay, we can do this instead. That's less distressing and less upsetting. But, yeah, it's kind of just one of those types of things. But ultimately, what kind of sort of helped me realize that I have a dissociative disorder, I could possibly have one, is that I was able to do my own research and find out, like, why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. Because around, like, 2017, basically back when I started to go to college, I did some research on DPDR and dissociation and all that type of stuff, and like the symptoms that were described and the experiences that people were talking about, I resonated with that so much, and it was such a big relief for me to finally be like, this is it. This is what it is. This is what I've been dealing with for most of my life, as far as I'm aware. And I know that self-diagnosis is very controversial and can be very like a topical sort of situation, but this could probably be like a whole video in and of itself, to be honest. But self-diagnosis can be a valid thing because, especially in places like the US where I live, mental health isn't, you know, easily accessible, either because of cost or because of where somebody lives or something like that. So having the tool of self-diagnosis can really be helpful in helping people realize what they might be experiencing. Can it be easily abused? Yes. But the point of the matter is, I know myself better than anyone else. As much as sometimes I feel like I don't know who I am, the truth of the matter is I know myself better than anyone else ever possibly could. And I know how I feel, I know the experiences I've had, and I know my truth. And so maybe some people don't like the fact that technically at this point I'm self-diagnosing myself with a disorder. However, it's how I feel, and I know how I feel, and I did my research, and I'm well informed on these things. And so I feel like, you know, self-diagnosis can be a valid thing as long as someone uses it responsibly, because maybe it's the only option someone has. So I've been going to therapy on and off since about 6th grade, and I'm now like a sophomore in college. So it's definitely been a long time. I've been in and out of therapy for like half my life at this point, honestly. But initially I didn't go to therapy for trauma or dissociation or anything like that, because I really just didn't have the language to describe what was happening to me, and I didn't even really notice it at the time. Initially I went to therapy for depression, anxiety, and maybe just like a slight quick trigger warning here, and self-harm. So clearly, like, I did need that at that time because I was definitely experiencing a lot of depression and anxiety and stuff like that. But it didn't really get to the root underlying cause, I feel like, of why I was feeling the way that I was. Because certainly people with trauma or traumatic experiences are going to experience depression, anxiety, self-harm, all those types of things. And so I feel like, yeah, they were helping me in a way, but it wasn't really getting down to why exactly I was feeling the way that I was. And so I feel like it wasn't as effective, and that's why I kept switching around with therapists all the time. because it just never felt like it was working for me. But in about 2017, I decided to go back to therapy because I was basically having a bit of a nervous breakdown. Just, going into college, having to, deal with being an adult, I guess, now, and like having to learn how to fill out paperwork and be an adult and do all that not fun stuff was really hard for me. And so that's why I ended up going back to therapy. But then, after I'd done my research about, dissociation and trauma and like all that type of stuff, I, finally decided to bring this up to the therapist I started to see. And she was like, yeah, that definitely sounds a lot like what you're experiencing. And she really validated me in saying that, yes, you are possibly experiencing the symptoms of a dissociative disorder, specifically Depersonalization-Derealization Disorder, and these are the things I can do to help you. Because even though she can't technically diagnose me, she is clearly trained and she is familiar with the DSM-5 and stuff like that. And so, that was huge for me, and finally definitely got me started on being able to actually progress in therapy, and the therapeutic relationship I have with her is way better than any other relationship I've had with any other therapist ever. And that's because we finally are getting down to the root issue of why I have experienced the things that I've experienced and feel the way that I feel. And so that's really important, is finding a therapist who listens to you. I know it maybe sounds kind of obvious, but sometimes there are some mental health professionals, unfortunately, who don't listen to their patients or their clients or whatever, and that's awful. And I feel really bad for the people who've experienced that, because when you find the right therapist and you find the right mental health professional to talk to, it can be life-changing. Honestly, it really can be, because then you finally start to be able to see progress, because they actually know how to help you and they're listening, and it's more of a cooperative relationship than maybe like other relationships in your life possibly have been, and it can really set the foundation for having a successful future for your mental health. And so I just want to let you guys know that it is possible to find a therapist who really can help you, even though maybe it takes you 3 or 4 times to find the right one. It's almost kind of worth the wait in a way, because once you find the right therapist and once you find the right, mental health professionals to talk to, they can help you so much with being able to handle your symptoms and, just generally being able to help you live your life better. And yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that. Thank you all for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Bye!